I know the moment. I remember the moment that I quit season 2 of Rise of the Shield Hero. It was that thing I sent you. I sent you a picture of Ridelfa or whatever the
Raftalia.
Raftalia.
I remember her name, but I can't remember names of common people. What the hell?
Of Raftalia. I sent you a picture of Raftalia telling the new girl that she should try slavery. And I was like, John, I can't I can't do this anymore.
Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel, a podcast about games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host today, Joe, and with me, my right hand, my boy wonder, uh, some might say the Jason Todd of the cast, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Doing pretty good. I just whenever he started talking about the Boy Wonder, I just imagined just remembered the famous picture of meme of Batman slapping Robin, and then like whatever words going in. And I know that's probably the image that you want everyone to have, but it's not the
Well,
case.
uh, that's a good thumbnail now that you thought of that.
You're right.
Just
I'm gonna have to do that.
just remember what the fans thought of I think Jason Todd's fate.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, man, he got blown up and then they just killed
hey,
They voted to kill him. I saw that on the History Channel. The History Channel years ago, gosh, that'd be like
uh,
15 years or 2 decades ago now, did a really good history of comic books, and they told that story. Um, I remember learning about that there. Yeah, so I'm gonna get blown up, and then our 7 or 8 subscribers are gonna vote to kill me.
well, it's funny because what was it? I learned about that. I forget. I was in elementary school, and of all the places, it was at a card shop in Okinawa. We were on vacation, and I was speaking with so I think I was on base. It had to have been on base because I was speaking with an American, and it was just funny because I was looking at the cards there, and somehow we got to talking. And yeah, that's where I learned about the whole like bit. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like fans did what? Like that's pretty wild. And then also I think that might have been the first time I learned that there was multiple Robins.
Oh
So
yeah, I forget. Todd was the second one, and the third one canonically turned into Night. No, I
first one
think
turned into Nightwing.
first one turned into Nightwing, which is the one that's in Batman and Robin. I think that's the one. And the second one, Jason Todd gets killed, and the third one is the third one doing any? Did he turn into something else?
Red Hood, I think.
Oh, okay. So they didn't want to kill him, so they turned him into Red Hood. Oh, yeah. Okay, okay. And
And
then,
then the fourth was the girl, which I can't remember. I don't remember. I'm so bad with names.
well, The Dark
Um,
Knight Returns had a girl, but that was like a one-off. I don't know. But yeah, I think they did make another girl into Robin for a while. I don't know.
yeah,
Batman.
because
There's so many different.
was it was Dick Grayson was turned into Nightwing.
Dick Grayson.
Um,
That's it. Yeah.
and then eventually, I just know eventually, through some of the storylines, it's his kid, Damien, and I
Damian
know
Wayne,
with
yeah. Damian's Batman, yeah. Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, he does kind of become Robin.
I like when they started animating those into because the movies, live action movies, have always been, oh, I guess everything outside of after Tim Burton and like The Dark Knight, I guess like DC films have been bad. Just that's just how it is.
There's a lot of bad ones, yeah.
But their animated stuff has been like their animated movies have been always stellar, like top notch. And they started doing stuff. I would say about maybe 8 years ago, where they brought in Damien into like the movies series for
Okay.
animated stuff, and it was great because they, he's had him with the League of Shadows or whatever, the whole murder. Like he's just all about the murder. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I can get down with this. He's just like there was some magically possessed dude, and he just takes the Batwing and just flies it right into him and detonates it like a little nuke over the water. And then he's just like Bruce is all angry. He's like, "What? It worked!" It's like Like literally, that was his solution, just to murder the dude. I'm like, all right, I'm okay with him.
It's fine. Yeah, that's the kind of the thing. That's sort of the thing that they have to work around with Batman is he won't kill anybody, um, which is kind of what makes him not the Punisher. Uh, and yeah, but yeah,
I mean, the argument is Bruce Wayne is could do more for Gotham as the billionaire Bruce Wayne than he could as a guy who punches people.
yeah,
Um,
but it wouldn't be as cool.
oh no, for sure not. It's the dude needs therapy and he just refuses to go. I mean,
He would just kill the therapist. Well, not kill the therapist, but just break every bone in their body.
but yes, so that's why Batman is a terrible superhero and
Yeah.
Superman's no better. I'm gonna say
Superman's
that. I will
Superman
fight
is
anyone.
much worse. Superman is in my opinion much worse. I've gone round and around with this, and I just Superman is he's not he is a superhero designed for a time when nobody knew what a superhero was, when nobody knew what the limits of a comic book or a serialized story should be. And it's amazing he's made it this long, honestly, because he's insanely overpowered. There's basically no reason to read any Superman comic because it's not even a question whether or not he's going to be able to win because he always will. And every comic is that way, you know, but it's like there's not even any suspension of disbelief with Superman. So I've
Well, he's the embodiment of truth and justice and all that stuff, according to
all
that Superman Returns.
yeah. There is actually one really good. There's a guy named Jim Lee, a very famous comic book artist from the late '90s into 2000s, and he did a Superman run, 12 issue run, that was really good because it was amazingly well drawn. And then I forget who the writer was on that because they got like an all star team to just freaking do this Superman run, and it was really cool. They brought in Batman, they brought in Wonder Woman a little bit. It was amazing. It was really good. And that was probably the only good Superman thing that I've. Well, the only good Superman.
I like any twisted story of those heroes. Red Sun was, most notably the early one. Injustice, that whole series was pretty solid.
Okay.
But that's just because I like the fact that these perfect superheroes, unfallible, like they become evil, and like are in some twisted way. I'm like, yeah, all right. I mean, that's why everyone likes the Killing Joke
The
for
Killing
Batman
Joke is really
because
good. Yeah.
yeah, because it's pushing to the limits of, hey, can anyone break and stuff like that. And uh, people like that darker stuff, but unfortunately, you can only be hot topic, dark and edgy for so long before everyone just gets tired of it, and it's boring. I mean, but then it's really hard to create a really good system, and that's why some of the, like I said, the animated stuff at least can express and has more time to flush out a lot of stuff than the movies do. And Young
Yeah.
Justice was surprisingly good.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see season 3 when they brought it back, but the first 2 seasons were phenomenal. Actually, it's just,
Yeah.
um,
Uh,
and there's like, stuff like that. It's totally worth it.
yeah, like the Killing Joke and like Dark Knight Returns and stuff like that. I think you can only do it like once a decade or so, or once only every certain period of time, because like the times have to change enough for, and enough time has to pass between the last one that you can kind of do something that's. I mean, the Killing Joke and the Dark Knight Returns obviously are very different stories, but there's a feel to them that is different. I don't even know how far apart they are. I think one's 80s and one's 90s, but I don't know. Maybe they're like right next to each other, but there's usually a limit to how much you can do that stuff, because somebody's gonna nail it. Someone's gonna define that decade with that set of issues or that graphic novel, and then you're just not gonna be able to touch it again for a while until things change. People kind of forget, and there's another level of there's another it reopens itself, and that's always kind of why it's, I guess, rarefied air to me to
Well, you got to
like
make a
that.
bunch of crap in between,
And that's
and
true
then
too. Yeah.
it palate cleanses everybody because it drops the standard, and then the standard becomes so low that someone makes anything halfway decent, it becomes just that much more of a masterpiece in that selection because it's like, wow, you didn't suck.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I feel like that's kind of where they are right now in the whole DC universe. It's like they can't compete with Marvel in a lot of their writing, and it's just unfortunately due to swapping directors and this and that, and the studio, having changing hand, like things like that.
Oh,
It's
I see.
been an ugly mess. So right now we're at that low point, and that means hopefully in the next future, like you're going to start having really good stuff again.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah. I
because
mean,
you couldn't have the you know, uh, Dark Knight and all that, or the Batman Returns, that whole, that trilogy, uh, it wouldn't have been as good had you not had to go through Batman and Robin and Batman Forever.
mm,
You know,
I
having
mean,
gone
we
through
could
that
have.
slapstick, silly stuff. I mean,
We could have
that's
done that.
honestly James Bond's the same way. If Pierce Brosnan didn't go through his gadget, like PG-13 phase of
Oh
like
yeah.
everything silly and over the top, I mean, it's pretty much he's just Remington Steele, like his old TV show,
Yeah.
and so it's going through that, and then you went from that to Casino Royale, and like harder, faster, grittier. Like that was
Man, Casino
a
Royale
really
was lit back in the day. That was some that opening to Casino Royale was so cool. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so that's exactly it. You have to go through certain bad things or certain silly things to then also to be able to change it. But after going dark and serious for so long, uh, people get tired of it,
Yeah.
and then it's just like, well, what now? Like anything you do is you try to be more dark, more serious, and then you get something like Batman versus Superman, which was a joke. Um,
Yeah.
it was, yeah. I felt that like Lex Luthor should have been like anybody else other than Lex Luthor as the villain in that one because he
Yeah,
did a
Jesse,
better
what's his name? I forget.
um
Eisen
the yeah,
Eisenberg?
I don't yeah, I think that's it.
Anyway.
Um
Yeah, I wish
Nice looking
comics were
movie kid.
good, man. Like I mean DC, their movies obviously are not as good as Marvel's, though Marvel makes a lot of them and a lot of them are bad. They just have some really good ones too. But like DC is still trying to be a comic book company. And Marvel has a lot of comics, but the writing in DC is definitely better. And it kind of has always been that way though. But like in general still the writing for comics is just not it's not great, and there's too I think the writing suffers because a comic book is too short. Um, whereas like a manga chapter is is actually similar length, but somehow they just tell more in, I guess because it's every week instead of every month. It's like, yeah, it's only 17 pages, but or maybe even 20 pages, but there's another one coming out in a week. Whereas a comic book, it's like there's 20 pages and it's going to be a month before the next one. It's like, yeah, it's in color, but okay, I have to wait a month, and it just kills it. Things are too, like, life is too fast now, and I think that's probably what makes it suffer. I'd rather them just have graphic novels. Them just go, okay, we're gonna work on this for a year, frickin' do it all, or 6 months or whatever, just do it all and
So
release
yeah,
it.
you just want the trade paperback then.
I know, but like I don't, but like I don't even think I think they could do that better, and there's some evidence toward that because people do it that way sometimes, where they're just a private artist and they just write the whole thing and do everything, and they release a big book, and I think that is a better situation for comics than trying to make every month, for 12 months have a interesting hook at the beginning, startup and cliffhanger or whatever at the end. It's better to just tell the story and not and like let it breathe instead of kind of capturing it in this issue format for comic books. I think manga works really well because it's so fast, but comics, I think they just need to turn into graphic novels. But anyway, it's whatever.
Yep. All right. Well, if you're still with us now, we
Yeah,
usually do talk about games by this point, but yeah, uh,
yeah. It's been
I
15
like to
minutes. Holy
blame the
shit.
boy wonder on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so Speaking of which, what do you got for news, buddy?
So, some sad news. Epic Games is laying off 16% of its staff. You were telling me a little about this beforehand. It sounds like it's Epic, but it's kind of the subsidiaries of Epic as well, right?
Yeah, so Epic themselves, I believe, are letting go a little over 800 people, and then so an extra 200 plus from some of their other groups.
Oh, okay.
And so this includes, like Bandcamp and a few others. So it's kind of this is supposed to be like 16% of the like staff. That's a huge amount.
That's a
You're
lot.
talking about, like 1,000 people, and it's devastating. The only positive note is their severance package is at least solid. I mean, it's
I
6 months
the
of
makers of
regular
Fortnite,
pay.
makers of Fortnite, if they're hiring you, then yeah, they should have a pretty good severance package or just package in general for everything they're doing there because of the money they're raking in.
Yeah, I mean, but they are still going through lawsuits, like the whole Apple lawsuit and
Oh
stuff
yeah,
like that. That's still going on.
yeah,
You know, they so they're things aren't making as much money as they used to be. Fortnite isn't, bringing in the money as much as it was, and like they bought Bandcamp. I mean, like the way they spent their money was kind of awkward. That was a few years ago. So
yeah.
and they haven't at least I think it was and, like, they haven't really done anything with it. They've bought in other companies and, smaller groups, and so it's, hearts out to those who lost their jobs because, especially with as big as that company was getting, granted, this seems to be a common occurrence, especially over the, pandemic. A lot of people are staffing up, especially people staying at home, have more free time on their hands, playing more games, and now that things are, the world's going back to semi-normal, but, so at the same time, a recession's happening, so people don't have as much free income to spend, uh, plus they're spending their time differently, so it's not unsurprising, but it's still not, it's unfortunate. It really is. But yeah, like I said, as far as other companies have handled it, uh, Epic at least has given them at least what was it Canada, America, United States, and Brazil. They get health or insurance for like the next 6 months as well, or something like that. So
Okay.
they at least have some insurance, and they have medical insurance, and they have regular base pay.
Yeah,
So
because
that's
what was the layoff where it was like if they had was it the what was the just one that just happened with the
uh, um
with like the guys that made Saints Row, right?
oh, Volition, yes.
Volition. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Because that was the thing with them. Somebody tweeted out like if it had just been like one more day, then everybody would have a month more of
they let them go at
insurance.
the end of the month just to yeah, and
Yeah.
they lost like they only had like 2 days of or something like a day or two of insurance, and they lost all that. Yeah, they got royally screwed. So
So my point is maybe Epic. I don't know if this if factors in at all or if they were already thinking this way beforehand, but maybe they saw that and were like, yeah, we probably need to not have egg on our face. We need to give these people, you know, um, at least insurance so they're not wandering around in the world trying to get a job, wondering if like the next time they step off of a street corner wrong that it's gonna be devastating for them in an even worse kind of way. So that's good. That's like it's like it sucks. Layoffs suck. They're kind of a reality of the world we live in, but companies trying to protect people a little bit is always nice to see.
yeah, for sure. I'm glad that like I said, that's one. It's the silver lining, I suppose. I
Yeah,
mean, within 6 months, hopefully, there's a lot of people with outreach and stuff like that. So one would hope that they'd be able to find employment, and good luck to everyone out there. Yeah, it's been rough on a lot of people. So,
yeah.
all right. Well, yeah. What else you got on the news? Anything better?
The next thing is a little better. Alan Wake 2. Uh, so this is coming from, I think, Kotaku. I think I saw is where I saw this. Basically, Alan Wake 2 is built for 30 FPS, but it will have a solid performance mode. This is what the game maker, what the developer Remedy is saying. You were saying that you had already kind of heard about this prior. I didn't know it wasn't going to be in 60 in the first place, or it was made for 30 in the first place.
Yeah, so they're already in talks about trying to optimize for the performance mode, and they'll be trying to target 60 in the future. But yeah, it's unfortunate. There's a couple games that have been this way recently where uh, they've come out with the 30, and you know, it's I'm kind of curious to see how they do it. If they're going to try to do with like the frame generation, so they can, or DLSS 3.5, or 3 and 3.5 together. Well, the 3.5 is mostly just the for the visual side, but the 3.0 is the frame generating, and then they have FSR 3 that just came out. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to do stuff like that to help up the frame rate. Artificially, as it were. But hey, so long as it looks good, then no one's going to really complain. But I'm kind of curious with the what the problem was as well, because I mean, if they're pushing a lot of RT features, maybe I can see that bogging it down and then
Okay.
having to stick with a 30 because they were, so maybe if they can strip away that, I know a lot of people who would prefer to, I mean, as beautiful as ray tracing is, they'd rather take that away to get the extra frames. And, it depends on what style you're going for. But I trust them enough that even some people are like, I can't play at 30. It's just too it's beneath me. And I'm like, you know what? If it's their style and they've directed it as such, I'm okay with it because chances are they're making it look uh, a certain way. Yes, it may not play as smooth as what you're used to, but something tells me it visually it's going to be striking as heck. So
Yeah, that's kind of the
uh,
thing is like the way that the first Alan Wake plays. Um, it's not vital for you to have 60 frames. And if this plays a similar way, which maybe it does, if they built it to be played at 30, if it plays in a similar way, then it's like, yeah, I can see how Remedy being a kind of a TV first type of developer might go, okay, we can make this really pretty. It's going to be a slow game, kind of a plodding game, sort of suspenseful, not a lot going on screen. We need to make this really um, pretty to just sit in and be in and explore and work on that first. And then if we have time and money and ability, we can increase the performance as we go. Like because that's probably going to be something that they could put in the back end is like, hey, we got all the assets. That's the stuff that takes a lot of time is getting the assets, getting everything in, and that's stuff that is written in ink. You can't get that out very easily, but you can finagle it here and there over a few months, the last few months of development, or over a year after development or whatever, and get it working 48 frames a second, 60 frames, maybe more, and then if it ever goes to PC, you never know how many frames you can get, 120 or max or whatever. So I get it. It makes sense. I'm excited to play the game. I am really looking forward to it. I'm gonna play something else probably between now and then, just to hold me over. But I am really looking forward to digging into it, especially after playing the first Alan Wake.
yeah, for sure. It's high on my list as well. It's one of the things that
Very
I
high.
started playing. I started playing the remastered actually again because I know you were playing it, and I actually never. I've only played the original 360, and I'm going through it again, and I'm like, it does, but despite it looking, crisper, it actually has it's a brighter game now. Actually, it's not as the
Oh, okay.
there's actually a little more tonal change. Like it's a darker and maybe it's a limitation, kind of like a the old Silent Hill one, because of the
Mm.
fog, as it were. Uh, but there is a it is a darker and spookier like ambiance in that game in the original 360 version. So it was just kind of neat, but it was also a little off-putting because I'm like, this seems just overall a crisper but brighter like game, and so I was like, well, that you get like 90% of the feeling right there, but there's just something missing. It's like that I wasn't expecting, and so I'm like, I still love the game, and I'm super happy for it, and yeah, like I said, this having Alan Wake 2 come out is going to be probably the first game in a long while that I've been super stoked about day one. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I know.
I've only
I'm
been talking about it to you for years. So
yeah, only for like almost 8 years or whatever. Um,
yeah,
I've been getting closer to 9 actually. Maybe 10. Yeah, I think it's probably about 10. Have we been friends for 10 years?
uh, have we been friends for 10 years? No.
Because well, not 10 years straight, maybe, but but that's the story for another time. But yeah, I think I think so. It'll be 10 years this year or next year, if I'm remembering right. My timing.
2013, fall of 2013.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's right. Yep.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
uh,
Well, did you get me
uh,
anything?
maybe check the mail.
All right. So we could go. We could scamper right along. One more little dumb piece of news. This happened a little while ago. I just put it on here because I thought it was funny and the sign of the times. The Van Gogh Museum um, in anyway, the Van Gogh Museum in Europe um, was having a Pikachu promo card in conjunction with it was in a like a Van Gogh style, and scalpers swarmed the museum and grabbed every one. There's some pretty good video on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, of these people just ransacking this poor little museum for these Pikachu promo cards. Um, and it's kind of disgusting. But that's the world we live in.
Was this the Amsterdam Van Gogh Museum?
It must be
Right?
Amsterdam, yeah. I thought there was one in like Denmark, but yeah, Amsterdam would be. I was gonna say Netherlands, because that's where he's from. But anyway, yeah. So that
That
that happened.
Well, I mean, good thing it was over there because I mean, during the pandemic, people were pulling guns just to get Pokemon cards in like Target parking lots. So
That's different.
yeah,
That's America. That's okay.
once again, it was just like imagine that being like some like Chicago or New York, them having trying to do a stunt like this. So
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
so
But
how many did you buy?
I got 10. Oh man, it just sucks. Like it's so stupid. It's just like they have to make it rare, and so scalpers are gonna come. But why do they have to make it rare? I get it's a promo thing. Just you can. I don't know. I've never understood why scalpers have to exist. At least not in the long term. But that's just the way that things are. Um. So yeah.
It's human nature, man. We gotta collect stuff, and you gotta collect them all, man. It's like the Japanese people knew when they made Pokemon that they were just ingrained. It's ingrained that you have to collect stuff.
God,
You can from trading cards and baseball cards. It's you know everyone has a hobby, whether it be spoons or cards. I mean,
man,
so
collecting Pokemon in the original when I was a kid was super satisfying. I'm not gonna lie. So they got me there. That is definitely. But yeah. Anyway, it's just it's
I
not
am collecting
collecting.
mugs in Starfield, okay? I'm going around in Starfield and grabbing
So
all the different mugs, because they have different stupid writing on them, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's right." I found this NASA mug, and I'm like, "Alright, cool." That's how it started. I'm like, "There's a NASA mug that I found in a cave." And then from there, I was just like, I put the I in team, all this other stuff. I was like, yeah, these are stupid, but I'm gonna collect one of each of these mugs. That has been my, it's my Starfield like collecting.
Joe, you've changed.
No, that part of me is the same. I mean, granted, maybe if it was
I
Skyrim,
guess
it'd be
you.
like skulls in the bedroom or something
I
like
guess
that.
you
But
do
no,
typically. You do typically get into a game. So like either you're like you play it for 5 minutes and then you stop, or you freaking platinum it and collect things that you're not even supposed to collect for the sake of because that's just where you are right then in your life. Um, yeah. So you want to talk about Starfield?
yeah, we'll jump straight to that. So yeah, you know, I've been talking about this for like now third episode in a row. So
I'm going to talk about
yeah,
Alan Wake too. So go ahead.
yeah. Well, once again, it's just the thing is uh my PC is currently I've been in the process of trying to upgrade my system, and so there's been a lot of downtime for my actual PC. That's where the crossplay or the cross save functions really nice for console or for the Xbox and Game Pass, and it's so I've just been sticking with this, and I had gotten a different game, but I was I got Street Fighter. But I was telling you before the show, I'm like, yeah, I finally got Street Fighter. A buddy of mine had a couple fight sticks that he wasn't using. I'm like, just let me borrow one. Like I really want to get good on this, and then when Nick's not like doesn't realize it, I'm gonna challenge. I'm like, hey, look what I got, and let's go ahead and play and just kick your teeth into the curb. But yeah, unfortunately, buddy dropped the ball. Didn't bring me my fight stick. I'm like, come on, man, you could have just
After
said
you
no.
reminded him twice, you were telling me that you reminded him 2 times, and he's
I
still.
asked him, he's like, yeah, sure, I'll pull it out of the closet. I'm like, okay, cool. Then like the day before, like, dude, did you get it? He's like, yeah, I'll totally get it. And then we came, I'm like, so, and he's like, yeah, it's lives in a different state. I'm like, you jerk face.
That's so funny. I love that you were thwarted.
Uh, well, I mean, I can still kick your ass with a controller,
You
but
probably could,
I just
yeah.
it's just more satisfying to play a fighting game with a fight stick.
It
And then it also got me down the rabbit hole of hitbox, and I'm like, those are so expensive to buy. You're talking about like for some of the more popular ones, like $300-$400. I'm like, that's insane.
so
But
that
then I'm like, I can buy my own, I can build it myself, and that's another rabbit hole that I shouldn't
no,
have
I
wasted a
know.
day
I
on.
almost went down that one too. I was looking at parts and I was looking at stuff, and I still want to take the glass cover or the whatever see-through plastic cover off of my Mayflash and put in a cool background. I think I found one I thought was kind of cool, but I couldn't really. I just dropped the ball on it, and I was like, I don't really want to do it that bad. Um, but yeah, like, um, yeah, that is a beautiful rabbit hole to go down. But it is fighting games are kind of their own. They're not even. I mean, they're video games. Don't get me wrong, but they're sort of their own hobby beyond video games. It's like you're a fighting game guy now. You only play fighting games really, and you play them all the time, and you have special equipment to play. It's like racing games, I guess, in its own in a
It's not a
different way.
game; it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, it becomes a lifestyle. Um, but yeah, like the cool thing about like playing with a fight stick is better. It's just, I mean, there's some people who could argue that it's not. There was a guy that won Tekken or Street Fighter or something with a PS1 controller, and they were saying like, how is he able to do that? And they were like, well, because he'd only ever played with the PS1 controller, so he had all of this time to where like the most nitty gritty muscle memory was perfect with this PS1 controller, and he even had to use an adapter to put it on like an Xbox 360 or Xbox One or something like that, and it worked. It's kind of risky, but like it worked, you know. But like the cool thing about a controller is just being able to pick up and play and not really have to think about it, which you can do with this with a fight stick, I guess. But a fight stick is just I don't know. To me, it's just more involved. I'm just like, okay, I have this thing on my lap. My hands are in a slightly different kind of brain. It's just there's a little bit of a separation. So you might be able, so you probably would be able to kick my ass hard. I'm sure, just because I'm
I'm
not very good, but also because reasons that I just
The
talked about.
tactile feel of a fight stick is so much nicer.
Yeah, it is. You're
But
right.
from everything I've heard, hitbox is the new way to go, and it's one of those. It looks funky as heck, and
Because
it would
it's
take
all
a lot.
buttons, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
instead of having, essentially, there's two styles. There's one where essentially has the WASD format, like a keyboard, and then you have your normal row of punches and kicks, or you can have the three directional buttons, and then essentially where the space bar is like a lower thumb button, and then you have those as your directional. But you can theoretically input things quicker and more precise. If you need to get like an angled, or semicircle, you can roll essentially better. And it's one of those like I think it takes a while to rewire your brain, but from everyone swears by them, and so it's like I really would like to give it a shot, but the barrier to entry is a high cost,
Yeah.
and for an experimental thing, I'm like I don't know if I can do that. I'm like I really want to just because I think it'd be fun, and it's one of the things that maybe in the future, if I ever find myself enough time, I would like to build my own.
Yeah.
It would be slightly cheaper, and it's just always fun to build, build your own equipment. But
Yeah,
yeah,
because
it's
then
just
it's like really yours. There's a they're not hitboxes, but they're like $300 or $400. I think they're $400. They're Vitrix fight sticks, and they come in like purple and white, and maybe blue or something. But they're really really nice, well made fight sticks. And those I had one of those on a wish list for a while, and I was thinking really hard about pulling the trigger on it, but I was like,
um,
I can't.
Vitrix is PDP, I believe,
Okay.
and they do make hitboxes too,
Okay. Well,
for
makes
equally
sense.
expensive, if not more so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw someone was selling for like $100 less, like used in Chicago here, and I'm like, dude, that's really tempting, but that's still a couple hundred that I just don't have that kind of money to blow on like a thing that I'm gonna play. I honestly probably not gonna use enough to justify that. It's just yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah, it's yeah. If you yeah, like if you're playing like a bunch of fighting games, or you're playing fighting games all the time, then it's like, okay, I'm already playing this game, 10, 20 hours a week. I it doesn't never make sense, but at least it's at least it's going to get used. The thing is going to get used for $400. But yeah, so Starfield, we started talking about that, and then we jumped over to Street Fighter. Did you want to talk any
Yeah,
more about Starfield?
Starfield's still awesome, still great. I'm enjoying my time. I mean, it's not a perfect game by any means, but it is super satisfying. I've now progressed the story enough. It's kind of funny because I hit a certain point where the story started like I was able to roll real quick with it, and after a couple major story missions, uh, the starting default companion, like any of the companions, the four major companions from constellation you're with, slight spoiler, they're all romanceable. It's two
Cool.
male, two female. I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter gender or anything like that. So, but in the beginning, you're stuck with one. And so that's kind of, because I think, played so much time and leveled up so much with them and talked to so many people and gotten high affection. So, next thing I know, after progressing to a certain point in the story, they're like, "Yeah, we need to like, can we talk?" And then we talk and have a little bit of interaction. Then it's like, "Can we talk again?" Like it just maybe 4 or 5 conversations within span of like just 2 or 3 missions, and I'm like, you can tell that I'm climbing that relationship tree like really quickly. I'm like, all right, I think I just had built enough good reputation with this person, and then but I hadn't even gotten the full crew yet. Yeah, there were still people that like part of the team, like you have to do these other early missions to collect them, and yeah, so now I'm at the point where I actually have the entire set team. I've hit the point where like everyone says like once you hit this spot, then you should really free roam because you've actually opened up the game quite a bit.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
so
is it. This is Bethesda. This is Bethesda proper, right? Um,
yes,
okay. What's the game that came out like 8 years ago? It was one of the Dragon Ages. I think it was Dragon Age 3 where you got people got stuck in the hinterlands a lot, and it was like so like there's a the opening area is this place called the hinterlands, and it's really big. And you can kill bears and collect pixie dust and daisies and stuff like that, and people got stuck doing that because it was like so big and right there in front of you, and they was like, oh, I guess I'll just do this, and and other people would would go by it and be like, and then they would tell everybody else. I remember listening to podcasts where they were like, "Don't stop in the hinterlands. Just keep going. Just go through there and go to the next thing because it's going to slow you down and it's not really the game opening up." So this all that
So
is to say, this sounds like that.
yeah, so it's the equivalent of getting your first in Skyrim, getting your first dragon shout.
Oh
Dragon
yeah,
Age was a BioWare game, so it's same but different.
yeah, yeah,
The but yeah, this is that moment. Like you fully unlock the character's skill tree availability, as it were, and I can see and I can see why they'd have you wait because, like I said, at this point you have the full base cast and you can choose to go with whomever you want. So yeah, like I said, I've had a good time with the game so far. I'm like shoot level 25 or 26, and now I'm just kind of like I'm ready to mainline. I got so many side quests queued up, and I'm like, all right, well, let me just I'm having fun mainlining the story, the main campaign, but at the same time, I feel like at any given point, I can just pick and choose, one of the side quests and just nail that real quick. The the game's been a good decent amount of time. I've spent like shoot, I think it says I spent like 2.5 days so far playing this game. So yeah, I haven't put this much time into a game in a long while, and I I think I'll be able to finish this game up in a relatively quick speed from here. Uh, I mean, I'm not going to try to rush it, but at the same time, I don't have the need to explore every outpost. There's some really neat things and really curious spots to visit, but at the same time, it's just like I've run my course with this game. I mean, I've enjoyed it a lot. Maybe the new game plus will pull me in again. But I think I'm going to give it some breathing time after. Like, I want to beat this game. I actually want to know the full story, and once that's done, I'll go back into it in a different way. Maybe play it a different route. Like I said, I love the idea of a game having new game plus. Um,
yeah,
it's one of my favorite things of any RPG. So, the and knowing what I know now with it, I mean, essentially, whenever my wife plays, I can give her a quick TLDR and be like, just go to this next spot. Don't waste your time." Like you were mentioning the hinterlands. I'm like, just like yeah, just trust me, just move forward, or yeah, you might want to stay in this area and start talking to some people. There might be some fun interactions. So I've been able to hint at a few things.
yeah.
Um,
That's good. That's kind of the best sort of not really a spoiler, but kind of spoiler is like, hey, this is cool and all, but just go forward. You'll be happy that you didn't spend a lot of time here in the beginning, or you didn't
yeah,
waste something at this point. Just go ahead and go.
well, it's also nice because, well, I've seen and spoke to so many people that I can go to a new location and there'll be like, I don't know, multiple objectives at that spot. So I'm like, okay, cool. So then I'm just literally doing the main quest here, doing a couple side missions as well, and I'm knocking them all out. Like, and then also next thing I know, I'm gaining a buttload of XP. I'm like, all right, that works for me. I, you know, this game has leaps and bounds better than the last couple Bethesda games, and I'm super happy with it. I've kind of fell off. I used to love them. Anything that like you can do no wrong, and then they did everything wrong for so long,
Fallout
and then it's just like
76, yeah,
yeah, Fallout 4. I
yeah,
mean,
that
I
too.
wasn't pleased with that one. I played Skyrim on the PS3, which is the worst possible way to play that game.
Yeah, I remember hearing
So
about that.
yeah, so I've they've kind of burned me since then, essentially. Uh, and I wasn't the biggest fan of New Vegas, but New Vegas wasn't necessarily them entirely, I believe. Um, but yeah, that's so it's like Fallout 3 was the last real Bethesda game that I was super into. And I not only 100% of that, I did all the DLC. I dove head over heels in that one, and this is the first time in a long time that I've just really liked the game. Though you know, there is a lot that I think can be done better. Their skill tree is a lot of hot garbage, I think. Like, unless if you're doing a specific build, like something really wonky, like melee only, like just bare-fisted brawler. Um, you can do that, and there are skills to help you along that way, but I just find it, kind of useless, or they just have a lot of useless skills in general, and that could be streamlined so much better. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they'll do stuff in the future that makes things more relevant. But honestly, you only need a handful of real major skills to just carry down. But like you have to watch a bunch of videos just to see the explanations because sometimes they're so vague. Uh,
Yeah.
but like I said, I've spent enough time to know how I'm going to finish out my character for the most part, and most people would probably be done by this time. I don't think it's meant to be like I've spent like 50, 60-ish hours.
Yeah, it probably
So
is. It probably is meant to be. I did see something where they were saying that they actually meant it to be a pretty long game, but I think 90 hours is too much. I feel like I heard something like that, but yeah, I mean, usually these kind of games they plan for you to end between 50 and 60 hours in, because they really want you to spend a lot of time, doing it. But yeah, like I've always been a less is more kind of person, and Bethesda has always been a more is more kind of company. Um, and so
this coming from the guy who likes Avatar because of the length.
that's not
Okay, I
true.
just had to, just because I call you out on it. I just looked it up on how long to beat, and they say the main story is the average has been 20 and a half hours. Main
Uh,
story plus side missions is 65. Completionist is 150. So
I
there
mean,
you go.
there's been a couple games that I've seen on How Long to Beat where I was like okay, and I started playing it, and then I mean, yeah, if you somehow no, it was Diablo. I was like, how are people getting to? I mean, I don't know. I guess there's different builds, so maybe people are just better than me at that game or whatever. But I was just like, there's like 5 hours that needs to be put on the base, like the shortest run of this game, average run. Obviously, there's people who are gonna speed run it and stuff, but the shortest like mainlining the game. But I don't know. So I always take it. I never take the main line from How Long to Beat. I always take the middle one, the main story plus, because I feel like that is the true representation of what I'm actually going to do. Is like mostly mainline, a little bit of things to level me up to get me back to the main line, or if it's interesting, and then finish it off in that zone.
Yeah, well, it helps that I'm not too keen on base building, and I don't really. I'm not as interested in shipbuilding. But if you're the kind of person who loves that, then man, I can see they have the equipment to get lost in shipbuilding. There is so much you can do, but you have to. A lot of that's also hidden behind skills, so you can only upgrade at a certain point. You need to unlock, even with like upgrading weapons, you have to spec out your skill tree to be able to upgrade weapons to a higher tier or armor as well. So for me, I'm like, well, I got some awesome base gear, and I'm not really caring about upgrading those. But I also feel like it's not necessary, um, even on harder difficulty settings. Enemies are relatively still like bullet spongy, but it's not terrible. And honestly, I think the game's pretty fair in that respect.
Yeah.
But also, I've I've also done some early ish games like looting to get the higher end tier higher tier weapons and armor for certain things. And so I'm like, yeah, you know what? Why not? Let me try this. And for example, they recently patched it, and there used to be underground or little you can glitch into the floor and pick
Mm,
up some chests. Well, that those are no longer available, and I'm like,
uh,
well, that was kind of fun because I literally did it one round. I did it, got a couple chests, went to a couple places. Okay, that's it. There was like a huge gambit of like locations you can go to. and I only did like 4. I grabbed 4 chests, and that was it. And then they're like, the next day they patched it out. And I'm like, well, I took advantage of it while I could, so I'm not going to complain.
Oh well.
Yeah.
It's fun while it
Uh,
lasted.
all right. Well, what about you, man? You said you finally finished Alan Wake.
Yeah, I had barely anything left to do on it the last time we talked. So I did end up finishing it about, I guess, like 2 hours left. I did end up finishing it that weekend, and it was good. The combat and stuff kind of came together for me. I think I was saying that last time, but it was I'd really gotten a rhythm for it. I still died a couple times, still had a little bit of confusing spots where I was like, what am I supposed to really do here? Um, but I managed to push through and actually had a lot of fun. The combat got better and better as the game went on, especially as they give you plenty of weapons and items, and as long as you remember to use all of them, it's it's not like it's not too hard. It's pretty easy, and it's really fun to like be like throwing flashbangs and like using the flashlight right and popping people, and then like going like, oh, save the shotgun for the big guys. Oh, here comes the big guys. So I kind of hope that they do something like that again for Alan Wake 2. I would definitely be I would definitely like to see that same style of combat, but taken into 2023, maybe with a little bit more refinement. But I think the core of the combat in Alan Wake is good. The story was pretty cool. A lot of the atmosphere and stuff of those final scenes are good. And I went and watched a YouTube video, or started to watch a YouTube video, just kind of skipping through it, of the end of the story, and I realized that I was watching some of the DLC. So I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of weird. Because like, I guess like, did I actually finish this game? I had a panic attack for a minute. Like,
Yeah, it was American Nightmare,
okay,
I believe, right?
I don't know. It was all straight, just one piece. The way this person had made it. So yeah, so I had anyway. So um, I was watching that and I was like, dang, did I actually finish this game? Am I gonna have to like eat crow on the podcast when I realized that I haven't finished it, but I had actually. And then so I was like, okay, I can. Like we talked about this before, and I'm just not going to play those things because you said they were not really worth it.
Um,
Maybe.
like I said, I can't be for sure like how they're gonna connect it. Originally, it was never that story heavy. I can see them somehow working it in because it's Remedy and they've been now worked everything in. Like, how did you like your old gods of Asgard in Alan Wake? Do you remember that at all? You freaking should.
Uh, okay, sorry. How Remedy put in the old gods of Asgard, like,
So you remember the two old men at the diner?
oh, is that what's going on there?
So they
The eye
are
patch,
that's
Odin,
their
and
band. Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Okay, so those guys.
so
So wait, was that?
their music comes in and controlled as well. Um,
Oh,
and
okay.
the fact like that it's a great scene. It's one of the if I remember correctly, I think they're part of the ashtray level. I just can't really say much more than that. It is one of the best scenes in Control, flat out, and it's an amazing fight scene in Alan Wake, or at least I really liked it. Um, so they bring in something as small as that, and they cross games. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they're gonna somehow tie in, because shoot, is it Mr. Scratch? Was the name of the villain they talk about at the end of Alan Wake? The alter ego. You might have to go through some of the paperwork, or like the documents and stuff.
Okay.
But I believe he refers to uh, the greater evil as as Mr. Scratch, and so that has something to do with the DLC, because the DLC. All right, uh,
Spoiler.
anyone who's seen a trailer for the Alan Wake 2 knows that Alan Wake is somewhere else. So because of that disappearance, That's kind of where the DLC takes place.
Okay.
Is I never finished it. I played a little bit and it wasn't quite the same, so I just kind of stopped. So I can't really say for sure how everything like, but I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow tied into that. Um, so there is a little bit, but it's supposed to be short. So like we'll see if I can get to it. But I am trying to work my way through Alan Wake because you got me hyped. Well, I've been hyped anyways, but you playing through got me extra hyped.
Extra hyped.
So
How long is Control?
Control's not terrible.
No, 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 not.
Less than
Oh, I see. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, less than 20 hours.
Okay.
I would say now if you're they have some side missions and you can thoroughly explore everywhere. You know, there's stuff to find like there's things to find, collectibles and such, and the documents. But if you don't go hunting for all that, you can probably get it done in, I don't know. My guess is 15 hours.
Okay.
Um I mean, maybe faster depending on the difficulty set, and if you drop the difficulty, you can probably get done a bit quicker. Uh,
And Alan
but yeah,
Wake
I
2 doesn't come out
yeah
until like the very end of this month, right? Like the
yeah
20
Alan
28th or something.
yeah because they bumped it back an extra week.
Yeah.
Like that was their delay, quote unquote delay. So
Yeah.
uh, but that's you still have
But
time to. Were you thinking about touching on control?
well, I wanted to ask about it because I did kind of have that idea like, oh, well, if it's not too long and if it I know because I just read a little piece of an article that said that, and I think I'd heard this before too, that Control was initially going to be an Alan Wake sequel, but the way that they wrote it, they kind of got some feedback on it, and either internally or from somebody else, and they were like, yeah, this doesn't feel enough like Alan Wake, and so they changed it into Control.
So they have tied Alan Wake into it, and they
Yeah,
do it
that's
in
why
the
there's strong ties to it. Yeah.
yeah they did a really good job of explaining. I actually I love Control. It's one of my favorite games, full stop. And especially since it's connected to the way they tie everything in. They tied thanks to Control. They were able to tie in all Remedy's universes into one thing. It's a logical kind of in-game canon story thing. Um, so the main game, I just pulled it up here. How long to beat? 12 and a half hours mainlining, and then 25 hours main plus sides. So you take that as you will. I just mentioned 20, 20 hours, 15 hours, depending. So if you drop it down to an easier setting, you could probably go through. All styles is 26 hours and 40 hours as completionist, and I feel that's about right. Because I remember having to hunt and peck for a lot of things, and there's a lot of little hidden gems. But I also platinum that game on PlayStation. So the second DLC is called AWE, um, and that is an Alan Wake uh, DLC. I don't know if it's actually true, but I've heard it referred to as Alan Wake Experience, and I have not actually gotten to play that because I hadn't actually bought it. So like when it first came out, I ended up picking it up later on sale, and I just never got around to picking it up again because I had switched over to the PlayStation 5, and I was just like, all right, well, let me I was replaying through Controlled, and then I just dropped off. So I never got around to finishing Controlled again, and I never bothered getting to the DLC. So that is also something that I think is important for me. I don't know necessarily think it's important for most people, but having wanting to know it's probably just some side information about um, Alan Wake. But honestly, Controlled, I recommend playing it, especially if you don't have anything too terribly lined up. It's an easy game to play. It's super fun. Uh, they they get better as clunky as quote unquote clunky as the action is in that game in Alan Wake.
Yeah.
Controlled. There was one game in between Quantum Break, so their shooting mechanics get better with each game they came out with.
Okay,
So
that's good.
you yeah, for sure, and then the powers are great, the story is awesome, the brutalist architecture is amazing. So
Okay.
you have a PS5, you can easily go to a library and pick up Controlled. I'm almost guaranteed for nothing. You know, literally just check it out, and you'll have some really good graphics to look at, and you have an awesome TV to play on. So, totally do that.
That is true. Yeah. Yeah, I might do that. It doesn't look yeah, I'm not really too familiar with my local library. I need to get I should probably just do that and just try to get that started too. That might be the fastest way to actually get it in my hands as well.
Within a half an hour of me, there's like 4 or 5 libraries, and they're all different connected. So each one has their own group setting, or some of them are isolated, but like one of them is connected to like 90 libraries in the state. So generally speaking, if I just throw something on hold, eventually when it'll get to me and they'll just mail it in. You know, some of them are like 2 or 3 libraries connected. But so if you look up one library, they don't have it, take a look at another one or call and ask. You know, it's seriously underrated, and it's one of the best reasons to have a disc system, in my opinion. I mean, yes, it's nice to have all that physical media, but also the amount I saved just, on a game that I didn't necessarily want to own, but I got the chance to play it and experience it and have a good time. Yeah, I saved a lot of money that way. It kind of really pays for itself.
Yeah, you definitely have convinced me to go that way because it is like, yeah, maybe you're not gonna love this game or whatever, but yeah, and so you can wait, play it, and then if you really love it, yeah, you can go buy it still and probably for cheaper. But it's yeah, that sounds that is pretty good deal to get it for free.
Having worked at GameStop and watching, things come in brand new, people or that people weren't happy with, like it's yeah, for sure. It's convinced me that you take advantage of the systems where you have it, and even a red box or something like that. Renting a simple, like a lot of those games, you can still at least rent them on the cheap instead of buying a brand new game that you aren't 100% on. But yeah, Control generally goes on sale enough as is. But the Ultimate Edition easily comes out, has all the extra stuff to it, and totally give it a shot. I've really like that game, and now that you've kind of have a taste for Remedy, it's same but different. It's like you
Yeah,
get that vibe, and they have a great way of telling a story. um, and it's weird and eerie. It has something to like uncover. You like X Files? You're a big fan of that type of stuff.
yeah.
Um, it's all about a secret government organization, and all about the things that go behind the scenes. So this
Go.
is totally screams you.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to play it back when it came out, but I didn't have the requisite consoles. Um, so yeah, I think I'm probably gonna order this, and yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Well, we're running a little bit late, or a little bit longer than expected. But we'll go ahead and I'm gonna quick. So new anime has come out. All right, so there's gonna be the hot anime minute or whatever. I'm gonna. There's a bunch. There's the new stuff. There's some really promising things, and then there's some things that I'm thinking are gonna look like hot trash. So,
Mm,
but everything is still only like one episode or so in, very fresh. And so it's kind of hard to determine for sure. Uh, but for me personally, I'll start out with a lot of the negatives and then roll into some of the things I'm looking forward to or enjoying.
okay.
Um, and then also some things I just went and bitterly played. I had it played in the background as I was playing Starfield, so I can literally pay half of the attention to, look over, and man, this is a stupid story, and come back. So, all right. First, some new stuff that came out. We got season 2 of Goblin Slayer. Why? I don't understand. I just don't understand why. It's yeah, it's fun for the memes and everyone jokes about it. So whenever you read like a manga, like online, and there happens to be a goblin, everyone's like, they throw in the thumbnails of the Goblin Slayer or something. But it's it wasn't really that great, and the world didn't need a season 2. Uh, on that note, we sure as heck didn't need a season 3 of the Rising of the Shield Hero, because season 2 is boring, and
I know the moment. I remember the moment that I quit season 2 of Rise of the Shield Hero. It was that thing I sent you. I sent you a picture of Ridelfa or whatever the
Raftalia.
Raftalia.
I remember her name, but I can't remember names of. common people. What the hell?
Of Raftalia. I sent you a picture of Raftalia telling the new girl that she should try slavery, and I was like, John, I can't, I can't do this anymore. I just can't. But I mean, that all the hours I wasted on that, it's kind of worth it for that moment.
Dude, I remember you're like, I think I should try. I had already finished season one. Like season two was going to come out, and you're like, I really want to watch season one before season two. I'm like, don't do it, just don't.
Season
You're
one
like,
was.
no, I really
I
should.
was listening to a podcast, and this guy was on there, and he was like saying why he liked Rise of the Shield Hero more than a lot of other shonen, and he had a pretty good reason for it, and I was like, okay, so I gave it a try, and he was right, but then they shifted the whole thing away from that, and then it devolved into you should try slavery. So
Well,
yeah,
that and the entire series is all about, yes, you've been correct and you're right, but none of us can admit that you're right, and we all hate you because we hate you. And you're better than us, and we hate you, and we can't admit that we're wrong, so we hate you. And that's, yeah, that is literally the sum of everyone how everyone else still treats them. Yeah, it's I'm probably gonna watch it.
no,
Yeah, I don't.
stop.
That's probably gonna be my next background anime.
Okay.
Uh, and then all right, there's some weird ones that I have no idea. I can't like. There's Under Ninja. This art style looks really different as far as uh, they're trying to make the characters look older. Only episode one's out so far. I think the idea is we're gonna attempt to make this edgy for like the early high school kids or late middle school kids who think this is badass, but it's probably not, is my guess. Uh, yeah, I have episode one, too much going on. They haven't really found their footing, and we'll see where it goes from here. But I think right now it's ass. So
It's not good. Yeah.
uh,
Okay.
speaking of that, I think it's even worse. Is this uh, Kami Irabi God dot app? I didn't finish this first episode. It was that bad. It the CGI in
Yeah,
it
this is the
is
one you
just,
showed me. Yeah, this looks like it's just freaking pure CGI puppets
yeah,
lying
it's
around.
just animated worth. It's just garbage animated. It's even the characters designs, like whatever whoever thought it was a good idea. I think it's just the character design is set up in a way where it's easy to animate. Uh, all the guys school uniforms are sleeveless shirts with suspenders. Um, yeah, it's like the girls don't have much different in look of like like uniform as well. It's everyone has white shirts, and I don't know. It's just character design is bland. The story in the beginning was just kind of garbage, and I usually will be glad to give a 3 episode wait. I bounced like halfway through the first episode.
Mm.
Um, so why something like this exists, I don't know. Maybe it turns out to be a masterpiece. I highly doubt it, but if that's the case, I will eat my words and watch it, I guess, because I watch a lot of garbage. Like probably season three of Shield Hero. Uh, so, all right. Uh, my daughter left the nest and returned an S rank adventurer. I actually like this one. Uh, I've actually been reading this manga for like a couple years.
Okay.
It's lighthearted. It's you kind of think it's going one way, and it's not as bad as you expect it because in the beginning, more or less, a guy's an adventurer. He loses his leg. He has a peg leg, retires to the countryside, and is like kind of like the go-to perimeter guard and all-around handyman. He finds a lost kid in the woods and raises her as his daughter. Uh, and yeah, just like the story says, she leaves and she becomes a S rank adventurer. He's super strong. He can beat her every time. And so this is kind of this story. She's kind of you think she has a father complex. She does, but not in the gross way. Like you expect an anime to go.
Okay,
Um,
that's good.
so yeah, it's she has a lot of admiration and she's always like proud of him, but it's pretty funny. She starts talking to other people about her dad. And she gives him the nickname like the Red Ogre
Mm,
because he's red hair and he has like a beard and stuff. So everyone who finally comes to that town, who they ask for him, like, "Oh, are you?" Well, I forget his name now, but it's like the Red Ogre, and he's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, your daughter talked to us," and so he's that nickname starts to catch on. Um, and yeah, I like I said, I like the manga. It's just easygoing. It's fun. It's nothing too serious. It's enjoyable. So I'm looking forward to this anime. I was surprised it actually got an anime. So that was a pleasant surprise. Season two of The Eminence in Shadow. That I mean, I've gone beyond this in the manga, so I know what's coming up. It's all right. Still funny, still stupid, but it's all right. Yeah, it's more of the same. If you like the season one, then season two is going to be more of that. Uh, the Saints' magic power is omnipotent. Season two. Uh, I rather liked season one. Season two, only one episode out so far. Looks to be more of the same. So I'm okay with that. It's season one was pretty enjoyable, lighthearted. Uh, Story recap is girl office worker gets isekai'd, but she also gets isekai'd with a young in her apartment complex. So apparently the person like just below or above her, I can't remember, in one of the other apartments also gets caught in said tractor beam of isekai'ness. And so there's two heroes, two saints, and the prince picks the younger one and they're like, "Oh, you must be the saint," and completely snubs the other girl. And then she becomes a healer. She's like a pharmacist essentially, and turns out she's probably the real saint. The other girl has a lot of magical power, but not in the same vein. Uh, but it's a wholesome show. It's a nice, a light love story. It's once again easy to watch. Nothing too dramatic, nothing too serious. So if you just want stuff to chill, these are the kind of things to watch. Let's see. The new one that I didn't know about is I'm in love with the villainess. So this is one of those isekai otome stories where the main girl wakes up and she's the main heroine in her favorite boys dating sim game, her otome game, and she in her real life loved playing this game and is in love with the villainess. That's it. She doesn't care about the three main pro tags. She don't care about them at all. And so from the jump, she's just like the haughty like rich girls treating her like trash, and she's eating it up. It's in a not quite as excessive as a masochistic way, but it's a very much sounds from the side. It sounds like it's an abusive relationship. And
Okay.
it's kind of funny because it's just it the way she spins a lot of the things she's treated. She gets pushed to the ground by the villainess, and she's stands up. And is like, "Oh, that was great! You have your minions, but you do it yourself. Good for you for breaking the stereotype." Things like that, and of course completely catches the villainess off guard because she's getting praised by the girl she just shoved to the ground. Or at one point she steps on her foot and says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was a bug or something." And she's like, "You could step on me harder." And yeah, completely wigs out. It's pretty stupid but pretty funny. It's a good comedy so far. And let's see, we got Berserk of Gluttony. This one I think will be end up being popular. It has a good art style. It's going to be it's an action oriented fantasy story. So uh, kid has a weird kid's a impoverished poor kid who works for some really dirtbag knights. Gets treated like garbage all the time, and he has like they have skills in this world, magic and whatnot. His skill is useless and it's gluttony, and so he just is hungry all the time. um so essentially what happens is through random act of something or other, he ends up defending himself and ends up killing a guy. Well, it turns out he gains some abilities, and his gluttony skill is related to murder,
Mm,
in a sense. Uh,
okay.
but not necessarily murder of people, but like he gets, he later on he hunts goblins, and
Uh,
he can kind of get his fill, but he gets a lot of stat boosts that way. So it looks like it has a lot of potential, and I can see this one being pretty popular. Um, my I decided to show my son a Japanese like fully Japanese anime. Uh,
trying
kid's
to
really young, so
trying to get him to
you know
learn that second language early.
yeah, right. While they still can, while they're still open to it. But yeah, I ended up showing him firefighter Daigo, rescuer in orange, because the kid likes fire trucks, so why not?
Good. That's awesome. Yeah. That's a good way to think
So
about it.
it's just funny. I was just like, "Yeah, check this out, buddy. There's a fire." It's like, "Yep." What's he doing? He's gonna help him. Yeah, it's actually currently he's on a Godzilla kick too, which is pretty awesome. He
You're
was like the
raised.
other day.
I was gonna say you're raising him right.
Well, it's just I happened to show him. He saw there's some product toy on YouTube or something, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's Godzilla." He's like, "What's that? Dinosaur?" I'm like, "Godzilla." So I showed him like a couple action clips from like the Showa era, and he's just like, and then later on, like a couple days later, he's like, he was whining. He wanted to watch Illa. I'm like, what the heck's Illa? Illa. Then we finally realized, oh, Godzilla. Oh, dude, I didn't think you actually liked that, but okay. So every day for a little bit, he's watching some Godzilla stuff, and I got to be careful what I show him because you know, depending on when Godzilla is sometimes a bad guy, sometimes a good guy, sometimes uh, an anti-hero. So yeah, it's funny. It's good stuff. But no, as far as this firefighter Daigo, I believe it's an older show. Like they had an old series, and I think this is supposed to be like the next generation. So it's kind of they do this a lot with those old sports and stuff in different animes. So I think this is kind of following up on that. Um, it seemed okay. Quality in the animation was good. But it's just
For a younger crowd.
a younger crowd, and it's the whole like it's about a bunch of recruits essentially. So if you want to if you liked any of those type of anime where like a bunch of recruits going through training together as they build their bonds of friendship and blah, then yeah, sure. um let's see, there's the danger in my heart. So that was, you mentioned this one a while ago. This is that
Mm,
um the kid who fantasizes about killing the pretty girl in his class.
yeah.
um yeah, so this is getting dubbed. I've watched 6 episodes of this now. I'm caught up currently in the dub scene, and it got better. It's it's a simple romantic comedy. It actually, you just find out he's just, the reason why he wants to kill her is because he's a chuny. He's an edge lord. He thinks of himself as being this evil badass kid, and he's just, um, you know, and so he then turned his feelings of murder turned into feelings of affection. Yeah, so it's honestly it's not bad, but it's also not that great. So I mean, you can most definitely have this as a background. It has some funny scenes, but it's nothing. It's all
Hang
right.
on just a second. Okay.
Whoa, yep. My got some serious leg on my end.
Okay. I think you're back now. Okay. Yeah, you were just finishing up saying that that the dangers of my heart is okay. Not amazing,
Yep.
but it's all right.
Yeah, it's. I wouldn't stop you from watching it. I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't. But I also wouldn't go out of my way to recommend watching it.
Okay.
Um, let's see. But I've also had started watching this as a background thing as well. Speaking of a background thing to watch, I've caught up currently with what they're showing in English for Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead. Uh, animation's good. I love the way they
Yeah.
skirt the Japanese like blood on in media, like for video games and a lot of anime. You're not allowed to have a lot of gore on public TV. So that's in the first episode is all rainbow Technicolor. I'm like,
Mm,
that's pretty clever. I mean, because I remember going to the Don Quixote for Halloween, and they had fake blood but all the fake blood was green. It's
Mm.
like little green like vials. So that's what the the show's just okay. I was expecting more from it, and I guess I was a little let down. It, I'm probably gonna finish watching it, but it's okay to have in the background.
Yeah,
Uh,
it seemed pretty
a lot.
promising at the start of it, and I didn't watch very much of it, but I was like, this does look. I mean, it's well animated. Some of the characters are pretty interesting. It's got some mystery early on. Yeah, it's kind of sad that it's not living up to maybe that level of hype.
Yeah, I'll let you know if it gets any better. It actually makes me more curious to watch the movie that Netflix has because they actually had that dubbed. I
Yeah,
don't have Netflix anymore, so uh, I, but I can I'll find a way to stream it. Because if it's like the highlights of like this series condensed with a lot of the more funny highlights, then maybe I can see potential in it. And then these last couple are some of the garbage fodder that I had gone through. The most perfect second screen experience while I was zoned in to the non-story beats of Starfield. As I'm roaming a planet and just doing mundane tasks, or going from point A to point B, these were the shows that I had just playing in the background, and that's one of them is see Kengen Asura, and that this is season 2. I remember talking about season 1 a while ago, and this is just a straight up tournament anime, like Baki, Hanma. Like it's ridiculous. It's the animation is, you either love it or hate it, I think, and I'm particularly not a fan of it. Um, if you, I feel like it's a poor man's version of Baki. Um,
yeah,
and actually, speaking of Baki, has a cameo in was it let's see, the Dangers in My Heart. They actually go to visit a manga studio,
really.
and they're like, you want to see some stills of like original of Baki?" And they're like, "Yeah." So they end up showing a couple panels of Baki. It was just like, "Oh wait, that's legit Baki." Okay.
That's kind of funny. That's really cool. It's a nice
But yeah,
call out.
so but anyways, this Kengan Asura, it's okay. Season 2 is better than season 1, I think. Uh, but I'm glad I had it playing in the background.
Yeah.
Even more so, I'm glad I had it playing in the background, and maybe I shouldn't have had it playing at all. Was the Record of Ragnarok season 2, parts 1 and 2. I watched, or at least I think half of part 2 because um, it's not finished yet. And this is a fighting tournament about all the gods for Ragnarok fighting humans, and it's a 7-on-7 battle for first to 7 wins. Oh
Right.
no, it's 14. That's right. It's 14. It's 14 on 14. I think it is. First to 7 wins um, determines the fate of everything, and it is the dumbest thing ever. And they waste a bunch of time with people's backstories where you just don't give a crap about. They're like, here's I don't know. Here's this unknown samurai versus not Apollo. Yeah, Greek god of water.
Poseidon.
Is it Apollo? Oh yeah, Poseidon. There you go, Poseidon. And they're like, yeah, it's like, so let's give this background story to this samurai, and they just keep on, like, they waste so much time. Like, I don't care. I really don't care. Just go back to the fighting. Like, then they
Yeah.
do that for everyone, pretty much every match. They're like, hey, let's have Zeus and Adam from Adam and Eve. Let's have them fight it out, and it's it's garbage. It's just like, but if you like fighting, if you like just and you have a like, you ever wanted to know what if like what if Hercules and Jack the Ripper fought each other? There you go. You can have that fantasy fulfilled. But honestly, I think you're better off watching Fate, and I'm not a fan of Fate.
Mm.
So, but yeah, I mean, but at least there's a series of Fate because they have multiple iterations and whatnot. So there's guaranteed to be one that is meant for you. This, on the other hand, is trash. And Netflix needs to stop pumping this stuff out. Uh,
They won't, but we
Yeah,
could
no,
pray.
they don't, hands down. But
Maybe they'll
yeah,
hear this
so
podcast and they'll change their minds.
and they'll just burn my house down instead. It's cheaper for them to make me disappear. Uh, all
Oh
right.
man.
Uh,
All right, Joe.
anyways,
Thanks for sharing that anime rundown with us. That's going to be useful for anybody that's on the fence about starting any of these, at least.
yeah, there's more coming out, and once again, I might touch back with a couple of these after episode threes. And there's a bunch more that I haven't gotten around to. So there's still a few promising things, and there's other things I'm not going to even touch or mention. So yeah, hopefully, hopefully we have more good news to come out of this in the future.
Yeah.
That's it for the anime 15 or whatever this was, 20 minutes. So all right, well, thanks guys. If you made it this far, really appreciate it. It's been a good one. This is once again another Dead Pixel, episode 54. And until next time, y'all take it easy.
Bye.